Welcome back to the Lucy Gernon Show. Today's conversation is one I think many women in leadership need to hear, because despite all of the success, all of your qualifications, and all of your evidence of your capability, so many women, including myself and today's guests at times, have struggled with one thing, which is the feeling of worthiness, feeling like you are good enough, feeling like you're worthy of success, of recognition, of support, of investing in yourself. And personally, I see this all the time. Women who will spend money on their family and their friends and their teams without even a hesitation, or women who advocate for everybody else, but they forget about themselves in the process. And today's guest is a very, very good friend of mine and a executive coach who was once an executive vice president as well, who is an amazing leader in her field. I absolutely adore her. She's been on the show today. And today, Katy McFee and I are here to talk all about the mindset shifts and the confidence required so that you stop waiting to give yourself permission and start realizing that you are worthy of more. This is the Lucy Gernon Show, a raw, unfiltered and candid podcast where ambitious women in leadership and entrepreneurship come each week for inspiration, a good old laugh and real relatable stories. Each week we'll be diving into life hacks, leadership tips and the hilarious side of current affairs and being a woman in female leadership in the business world. You can expect a mix of laugh out loud conversations, real talk with top business minds, and solo episodes with yours truly that blend psychology, storytelling with practical tools and actionable strategies to support you to succeed in leadership and in life. So if you're an ambitious woman looking to grow, laugh, and get a little bit more confident along the way, you are definitely in the right place. So Katy, you are very welcome to the show today. Good to have you back.
I'm so excited to be back and have this conversation.
I know. So Katy, let's just, for anyone who didn't listen to the last episode of the show, I will link it in the show notes. We had a great conversation all about ADHD and midlife and all of the things. But today's topic is really focused a lot more on confidence and self-worth. So before we get into that, Katy, for anyone who doesn't know you, do you want to just share a little bit about you and your background?
Sure. So I had an 18-year corporate career. I did work my way up to VP and EVP, and I worked in biotech and tech. I do love to always share with people that my journey to the top was not a straight line. There was lots of struggles, lots of, wondering if I was even meant to be a leader, because I did get stuck and spent a lot of time working to get that VP role unsuccessfully for a number of years. So that's a lot of what I do now, is help other women to make that transition. And then after 18 years, I burnt out a little bit and I no longer felt aligned with what I was doing. And I decided to start a business. And what I do now is I work with women who want to make that leap director to VP, and maybe who are struggling with, why are people not seeing me as that next level leader? So in a nutshell, that's what I do.
Amazing. So let's just start right there. So what is the number one thing you would say that in your experience you've seen that stops women from taking that leap from director to VP?
There's a couple of things, but mindset is absolutely one of them. And it gets in the way in a few different areas. So when we think mindset, we're like, oh, confidence. So are they not confident? Some of these women are confident. Some of these women are like, no, I know I could do this job, but people aren't seeing it. Where mindset creeps in that instance, is the feeling that I always need to be doing. I always need to be producing. My worth is in the amount of work I'm pumping out. And that will hold you back from those more senior levels, right? So we know you cannot execute your way to VP. You need to slow down. You need to think, you need to be more thoughtful in terms of, how am I spending my time? What am I focused on? Am I spending time in like deep strategic thinking? And for a lot of women, that's not a habit problem. And they blame their calendars. They think it's a calendar problem. It's not a calendar problem. Sometimes it's just giving yourself permission to slow down and to spend some time thinking instead of always doing. So there's lots of things, this is such a multi-complex challenge for a lot of women, but that is a big one. And I would say the other place mindset specifically comes in is in the self-awareness, right? So I always say, like, if you don't know how you're showing up today, if you don't have like a good sense of self-awareness into like, who is the leader I want to be? Am I showing up as that person? And if not, what is the gap? How are you going to fill that gap? So that's a lot of what I work with women on initially.
Mm. And when you say self-awareness, obviously you and I know as coaches what that means. Like, how does somebody know if they're self-aware or not?
It's such a good question. If you're asking yourself, you probably aren't. Right?
Katie, am I self-aware? I think I bloody am. I think we overanalyze ourselves to death. I think we're good.
We're too self-aware.
We're way too self-aware.
But he's a little less. I have a child on the autism spectrum. I'm always like, I need a little more of that. Like,
Yeah.
instead of like the ruminating and everything else. But no, most of my corporate career, I would say I was not very self-aware. That doesn't mean I wasn't thinking about how am I showing up or how are people perceiving me, but I hadn't spent a lot of time thinking about like, who is the leader I want to be? How am I showing up in the world? Am I showing up as my authentic self? Right? So self-awareness, I think there's lots of levels of it. I would say the first level is just understanding how am I showing up today and how are people perceiving me? That's important, but like you can go many levels deeper as you and I have done. Where you're really diving into who am I as my authentic self? Do I show up in the world as that person, or how do I do that more often? And if not, like what is getting in the way?
Mm. I love that whole conversation about authenticity, right? It's such a funny one because I think sometimes it's a corporate thing. I think a lot of, corporate, it was a buzzword for a long time. And I talk about it too, authentic leadership and leading authentically. And it sounds like, people say like, well, like I can't bring my real self to work because I'd probably get fired if they saw what I was really like at home in certain situations. So I'd love to hear your take a little bit about for you, because I know what I think about being authentic. It's like, it's huge. But what do you think in terms of that piece, and what does that mean for you?
That's so interesting that you're bringing this up because literally last night I was on a group coaching call and this was the first question that somebody asked me. They were like,
Wow.
you show up so authentically. Like, have you always been able to do that? And like the people were really curious about whether I was able to show up authentically in my corporate career. I think it's a really important topic because many people, many women do struggle with the idea of showing up as their full authentic selves at work. They feel like they can't. They feel like they have to hide certain parts of themselves or, make themselves smaller or make themselves more polished. And I felt that way in certain times of my career. And I am not a polished person. Like, I think that I try to speak intelligently and, I think I'm a good communicator. I'm relatively well put together. I'm not polished though. Like I'll drop an F-bomb. Like, we don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. And that's who I am at my core. And for a long time, I thought that meant I couldn't be an executive or I couldn't bring that part of me to work. And the truth is, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this too, but my thought is if you are not showing up authentically, you are doing yourself and your organization such a disservice because it is really hard to show up as the best version of yourself if you are like spending mental energy, like hiding parts of yourself or showing up as someone different or all of these things. And oftentimes what we think we need to hide, people end up loving about us.
Yes.
And so I think I've gone through that journey. Absolutely. There were times in my career, especially earlier in my career, where it's like, oh, I need to like dress super fancy and like, I shouldn't, wear big jewelry or whatever. Like I wanted people to take me seriously. And I thought that meant hiding parts of who I was. I thought I was just like a little too, Canadian sounding or a little too
well, you are quite Canadian sounding. I'm not going to lie, but that's why I love you. That's why I love you.
But yeah, so it took me some time to really lean into that and just be like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
This is what you're getting. And I actually noticed that was where I really hit a whole new trajectory in my career in terms of the way I showed up, the success I had, the way I was perceived. Like it was all positive change from there. So I'm a big believer in getting that courage to show up as the full version of yourself because I think it's good for everyone, especially you.
100%. And I was just thinking as you were sharing that there's a story that came to mind that I think might actually help the audience understand, the people who are listening, what that can actually look like, right? So I remember, I'd say it was, when was it? It was probably, oh my God, Matt's and me, I don't know, like 12 years ago. And since I was a little kid in Ireland, Irish dancing is like a really big thing. And actually your mom did Irish dancing, right? So Katie has some Irish heritage. Her mom is Irish as well, right? So you get the deal with the Irish dancing, okay? And when I was really little, I used to do Irish dancing and I loved it. I was never a champion. I didn't even, I got to do like the poms and I had the hard shoes for a time and then I stopped, and like I never really believed in myself, being honest. I put a lot of pressure on myself to succeed. So I quit like sports, like people, like I'm not very competitive, because as a child I used to give up because I never thought I could live up to standards and expectations of what was expected, which is really sad as I say that. But anyway, long story short, I remember when in Ireland there was a huge thing when Riverdance actually came out years ago. Was it back in like 2000, maybe even longer, with the Eurovision? I don't know if you've seen the original Riverdance performance. If you haven't, you should look it up on YouTube. And it was such a movement that all of a sudden that's when Irish dancing became really popular. So it was probably even longer than that, actually. I'll have to look it up after this. But anyway, doesn't matter. And so I remember like Riverdance was this huge phenomenon, and I always wanted to dance Riverdance. I was not an Irish dancer in a professional sense, but I always wanted to dance Riverdance. And I always thought it was a stupid idea because I was like, who am I to dance Riverdance? Yada, yada. So long story short, I organized a charity event in the company that I worked in for the Irish Cancer Society. And as part of that, I really wanted to bring in Irish dancers to as part of the entertainment. And I knew that there was a couple of women who worked in the company I was in who would do that. And I remember I brought them in to dance the Riverdance for the employees who were coming to the event. And as I was at one of the rehearsals with them, one of them said to me, like, do you want to do it with us? And of course, I was like, no, I can't do it. Of course I couldn't do it. I was trying to be professional. Like, and I'm not going to get up and dance in front of my colleagues. Are you absolutely joking me? Like, but I did. And I ended up pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And I'll never forget the night of the event. It was there was all lights, there was a stage, and I'm actually going to cry. The girl who was like leading it, the teacher, she said to me, she said, you need to open this. And I was like, I can't open it, go out on the stage by myself. And she was like, you need to be the opener for this. And I did it. I walked out on the stage in front of the people who I knew would judge me, the people who I knew didn't like me. It was deer in the headlights, but I went, you know what? I'm just going to do this because it's something I've always wanted to do. I just kind of went, fuck it. I'm just going to do it. And so I went out on the stage, and I'll never forget, I walked out, I could see all of their faces. I did like my little intro, and the whole crowd like started cheering for me. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And afterwards, a couple of people who I thought didn't like me, right? You and I have talked about how we, like need to be liked, came straight up to me and they were like, I'm so impressed, like fair play to you for having the courage for doing that. So long story short, from that moment on, because I did something that was so far outside my comfort zone, when I went back into work the next day, I was me. Because I was like, if they can see me Irish dancing on a stage in a black, like short skirt, giving it my all, I can go into work and I can like bridge that piece from who I thought it could be to who I really was. So I would say anyone who's listening, like do something crazy that is so far away from your comfort zone. And then anything in between that, if you drop the F-bomb or you show up wearing something you wouldn't normally, is like totally nothing. So yeah, it was a very, very special moment for me.
Okay, that's the best story ever, by the way, and I would love to see you dance Riverdance. So.
I'm not very good, but I still did my best.
Cool.
I'm actually not bad. Okay.
I'm sure you crush it. Well, and this is the thing, like, it's funny because when I was younger, I used to be absolutely terrified to speak in front of people. I remember in my high school class, I had to do, you do like public speaking, right? So I just do a speech in front of your class. And I had my little speech, and a bunch of like the guys I knew that were like a grade ahead and some other people, like all came in to watch me just like for fun. And I was so mortified. Like I was never somebody who liked a lot of attention on me. And I just remember in this class reading my speech with my paper in front of my face, beet red, like feeling like I was going to cry. I was like, I did not want these people to be here. And so I had this perception of myself that was who I was. Right? Like that I was like timid and shy and red cheeks and choking. And then in university, I ended up joining a band, like being in a rock band, like a girls rock band. And I was the lead guitarist, and I was also singing backup. I was singing some songs myself. Like, I'm going to tell you, you want to get over stage fright, play music in front of people. Like that is just like, it's so hard. And it was interesting because the next time I got up to speak, it was, I believe my university, like I was presenting some research. the feedback I got was, you're clearly very comfortable speaking in front of people. And I remember thinking, I am? Like, that's what they think. But it's, to your point, it's just a different example of when you can do something crazy or do something bigger than you thought you could, then these everyday moments actually feel much safer, much easier. And you realize that, oh yeah, just like bringing my personality to work is okay. I can do that.
Yeah. And I think as well, like you said something earlier on about, I think, like, you know, bringing yourself to work, but people are afraid of, okay, well, if I bring too much of myself to work, you know, it may not be a good thing. And in my experience, I personally think, and I want to hear your take on this, is, you know, we talk a lot, especially as business owners. I think we've learned a lot in terms of attracting ideal clients and attracting opportunities to us that are right and aligned for us, because Katy and I would say we're both super authentic. Like what you see here is pretty much what goes on in our WhatsApp group, and we show up totally the same. And as a result, like, we both get incredible opportunities just from putting ourselves out there online, but they're aligned opportunities because people know what they're getting. Whereas if somebody is in work and they are working for somebody that they don't feel comfortable fully being themselves in front of, in terms of like, and whatever that looks like, what's your opinion on that? What would you say to that person?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I remember this, when I stepped into my VP role, I started working at an organization. I didn't really know them very well before I started there. And the first thing that struck me was how much people there showed up as their authentic selves. It was part of the core company culture. And I had never experienced this. And this company, by the way, it's now a multi-billion-dollar company. It grew super fast while I was there, continued to grow after I left. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I think allowing people to bring their whole selves to work just creates a better result for everyone. Because you see, for example, you see what people are actually good at and you put them in the right roles, right?
Yes.
People are naturally attracted, and I totally agree with you. Part of the thing that I've loved about having my own business, and I've said this, you know, to people I've worked with and in the past, is that I have never felt more like my authentic self in everything I do than I have in this business. But I think the important lesson is not go quit your corporate job and start a business.
No.
You can choose to do that. A lot of us are just afraid. And, you know, I would say that as I moved up and I gained more confidence in myself, I started showing up more authentically and I started getting a much better result. So it's one of those things that it's like, what's going to come first? But the sooner you can just decide, I'm going to bring my full authentic self to work, the sooner you are going to find the cultures that work for you. You are going to hire the right people for your teams. You are going to be hired into the right roles. Like one of the things I talk to women about all the time, if, you know, let's say I'm working with women who are trying to find a new role at a new company. Okay. So they want to step into their first time VP role or SVP or something like that. I always say, because they'll ask me questions about like, what if they ask about this? What about if they ask about that? I'm like, at this level, you need to be forthcoming about what kind of leader you are, what kind of culture you like to build, how you like to run your teams. And I'm like, the reason why is you don't want to get the job if it's the wrong culture at that your level, right? Like that's not going to be good for you and it's not going to be good for them. And so I'm always like, just be honest about what do you care about in terms of a company culture? Because if you really care about open, transparent culture and they're like, the company is like riddled with politics and whatever, and there's no match, you are better off to not step into that role. So that's kind of how I equate it to the corporate space. It's like, what roles are you stepping into? What teams are you building? What leadership teams are you working with? You want those things to be aligned. And you want those people, like you want to be hired as your authentic self. And then guess what? You get to show up as that person every day. That's,
oh my God. And like, how freeing is that? Like, because I see women all of the time, women who have, you know, who have worked with me and who have said to me, I'm able to show up now, warts and all. And with some of them who have actually gone through that journey of like what I want to ask you about next, which is like feeling worthy and feeling good enough to be themselves. Because when you feel confident in who you are and, you know, you own what you know, you own what you don't know, and you're able to fully embrace all of that, that is when you're able to show up authentically. But I'm thinking of a couple of clients who went through that journey and then they realized actually the company is not a match for my values, for who I really am. It's why I'm miserable. It's why I'm not happy. And they have gone on knowing exactly who they are, exactly what they bring to the table, and they have got better roles in better companies. So I think let's get into the worthiness piece, because I think a lot of the authenticity comes up from, you know, masking and conforming and being a good girl. And, you know, women, we tend to be like this chameleon where we, you know, we want to please, or we want to, okay, so Dave talks like this, so I need to show up a certain way, or Mary talks like this and I need to show up a certain way. Well, leadership to me is about you need to lead, not to follow. So what do you think about that piece?
Yeah, I mean, when we bring the worthiness thing is so interesting, because I am someone who, for a lot of my life, this is something I still work on, have had to work on believing I'm worthy outside of my achievements.
Yeah.
And when you can truly believe that, again, it frees you up to pursue the things you want to pursue, to take a risk over here, to not work yourself to death, like all of those things. And I agree with you that when we are so stuck in that, I think that also pulls us into the cycle of like over executing, overworking, you know, people pleasing, doing everything for everyone, not showing up as who we are, not pushing back on things we don't want to do. Like it just touches so many elements.
Everything. Mm-hmm.
And part of this is the deep work of, first of all, recognizing that maybe you have some of these thought patterns. If you've never thought about it, like, again, I didn't even think about this stuff until I was like in my 40s. Yeah. I never thought about, who am I? Why do I want the things I want? Why am I so driven to achieve? Like, and then I eventually realized that, oh, it's because I want people to like me. Yeah. And then I did more work and I realized, oh yeah, people don't give a shit what I do.
Yeah, people really don't give a shit. I give a shit about what you do though. Oh, come on. I care, okay? I care.
So there's a very
small
select people in this world who I truly care what they think of me. Right? Like, I care what you think about me. I care what my family
thinks. I hope you do. I care about what you think about me.
But like, we often act in the way that where we are so concerned about what like people online, whoever they are, think about us, or colleagues that, you know, you mentioned these colleagues that you didn't think liked you. Like, are they really the ones you want to be acting to impress? Or do you maybe want to think about the people who actually matter in your life and give a shit about you and love you? Right. And so it is some work to do that. And, you know, if let's say you're also ambitious and looking to move up in your career and you're thinking about stakeholders, like, yes, sometimes you need to care what certain leaders think of you if you want to get promoted, right? In that very specific instance. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the thing that happens where we are so concerned with what, quote, people think, all these people that is like, who are they actually? And that is stopping you from doing the big thing you want to do, doing that talk in front of a group of people, posting online, going for the promotion, like whatever the thing is. And often when we come down to it and you actually ask yourself, like, who are these people that I'm making myself small for? It's like, oh, you know, Susie that I went to high school with, I haven't spoken to in 15 years. Like, is that the person you really want to be concerned about?
100%. And I'm thinking, like, as you're saying that as well, I remember for about 3 years, I had a manager, right? And he didn't like me. Okay. And like, you know what that's like when you want people to like you, like, you know, you'll do whatever. It's like, it's horrendous, right? He didn't give a shit about me, and he really didn't like, he just didn't care. Like, I don't know whether or not he liked me. But anyway, long story short, I people pleased him within an inch of my life. I thought I did everything, you know, to do what I needed to do, and nothing kind of seemed good enough. And this is the thing with people pleasing, right? The more you do it, the more you're going to do it. It never ends, because if you people please and you get it right this time, it's like, okay, well, that worked. I got a dopamine hit. I need to do more. So it's like this perpetual cycle. So I did that for a long time, and I changed who I was and all of that kind of stuff. And then he left the company, and I was just like, huh? Hang on. I have just spent 3 years like trying to make you like me, and now you're gone, and I'm still here pretending I'm someone I'm not where I want to be in my career. So like, that was a huge light bulb moment for me around like just being able to actually realize that the people you're trying to please, they don't really hear about you, like the people at work. It's actually, you need to start looking, I think, about why you need to people please and where that comes from. So that brings me to my next question, Katy, around the work and investing in yourself. So like you and I have invested a lot of time and money into our development. And I think if I had told myself like 7 years ago that I would have invested what I've invested in myself now, we're talking, 6 figures plus or whatever more, I would never have thought I was worthy of investing that kind of money in myself. I would have thought it was a waste of money. I would have thought I didn't deserve it. I would have thought, like, what could I get a return on? And now when I look at myself now versus who I was like 5-7 years ago, the more I invest in myself and give not just the money, but the time in me, the better I become. And then the more the results come. So why do you think, I suppose, what was your take, first of all, when you started this whole journey of personal development and professional development? What were your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's so interesting because very similar. 5 years ago, would it be 5 years ago? I was still in corporate. And I remember knowing one woman who would do things like join masterminds. And they'd be like $10,000. And I'd be like, this woman's lost her mind. Like, what is she doing? I never really invested in myself in my corporate career. And I think back, that is one of my biggest regrets. And I just didn't know any better. Like, I think we learn that it's so interesting. I wrote a newsletter about this literally yesterday. Because I think we learned that, follow the plan. Your manager will develop you, do the corporate training that they offer you, like do all of these things. And like, the system is going to work and you're going to get to where you need to be. And I did realize at one point in my corporate career that wasn't really true. Like, I was like, I'm not getting what I need. I'm not getting to the next level. But I didn't really know what to do about it. And yeah, the thought of investing thousands, let alone 6 figures and this was over time. Like, really
over time. Yeah.
But if you had told me I would be spending multiple 5 figures at a time in various masterminds and things, like, I would have been like, 0% chance that's going to be me. Right. And so just like you, I never invested in myself at all until I started my own business, where you realize, like, oh, it is on me. There is no one that is going to help. Like, I need to figure this out. And entrepreneurs are really good at investing in themselves. Like, some entrepreneurs I know, I'm like, okay, you need to like dial it in a little bit, because all you do is join courses, masterminds, this, that, whatever. And I see people spending, more than they're making practically. But it's because as entrepreneurs, we understand, oh, I put in this $1, I get 10 back. Like, it is really the best return you can make. And I remember the very first time I had my business for around a year, and someone reached out to me on LinkedIn and invited me to a mastermind retreat. And it was maybe like $3,000 or $4,000. Maybe it was $4,000. And I was going to have to travel to Mexico for it. And I really wanted to go. And I looked at the other women in it. They had like really big social media followings at the time. Mine wasn't as big. And I was like, they look so impressive and they have real, thriving businesses. And I'm like, they want me to be in this group. And so I really wanted to go, but I was like, I don't think I can spend that money. It just feels so indulgent. I think indulgent is the best
Indulgent,
word.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, it's frivolous, it's indulgent. Like, dare I spend this? Like, I just have my little business. Like, it doesn't matter. And I remember talking to my partner about it, and he was like, listen, you told me you want to build a lifestyle business. So like, from a pure business investment perspective, I'm not sure this makes sense, but if you want to go just because like you feel so proud that they invited you, like, I'm okay with it.
Oh, Taylor. Of course he said that. And he's a CFO, guys, just so you know, like, this guy is actually an analytical dude. So
yeah. He was like, I get it. If this just makes you feel good. I was like, okay. So anyways, I went, and game changing, like totally changed the trajectory of my business, of everything. And actually, I was saying even before that, even investing in becoming a coach, like that was one that I really thought a lot about. It's like, do I spend this money? It's so much money. I never spent that much money on myself. And so anyway, it was all really scary at the time. But what I realized pretty quickly was that every time I invested, I got like a 10x plus return. And that continues to be true to this day. And so I've just like you, I've invested more and more and more over time. And now if you actually added it all together, I don't even know if I want to see that total amount.
No.
But it's helped me build the business I have today. It's helped me like become a better version of myself. And I do not regret one penny I've spent. And if I could go back to talk to corporate Katy a decade ago, especially when I was struggling to get to the next level, I would have been like, you know what, even if you have to like forego something else, forego a vacation or take out a loan if you have to, you know, because I really believe I could have gotten to the next level so much faster if I had invested in the right thing. And my company that I work for just didn't have that for me. Like it just didn't exist there. And I didn't really understand the idea of just paying my own hard-earned money to invest in myself outside. I really thought it was my company's obligation to pay for my training. And the thing that I realized over time that I think is so important is that your company does not care as much about your development as you do. They never will. And it shouldn't, because it's your career. Like you're the CEO of your career. If you've ever heard someone say that before, but I think it's so true. It's like, it is in your best interest to figure out what you need and then make it happen. And if you are relying on someone else, I'm like, you're just giving away your power in terms of creating the life and the career that you want. So as you can tell, I'm a little bit passionate about this.
I see that. I see that. But you're so right though. But I think, you know, just to go back to what you were saying, I think first of all, which is such an important point that I wish that I knew sooner as well, is, you know, there's a traditional path for developing your employees, which is, you know, say leaders or whatever, you know, it's leadership training. They get an internal mentor, you get an internal sponsor. And then it becomes, okay, what course do I need to do? Do I need to do an MBA or do I need to do a master's? Like that, they're the kind of main things that I hear most. I'm sure you're nodding away as well. But what's missing is the likes of, like, obviously you and I have similar but different kind of things that we do, even though we laugh at we're competitors, even though we're still friends. We are competitors. Come work with me though. Don't mind her. She's terrible.
I love it. Lucy's amazing. We're with Lucy. Like
I know we're besties, but no, but seriously, like I would never in a million zillion years have known that anything like what we do exists because it's not in the traditional education sense. But then it's like, hang on, like you're learning from people who've invested all this money to work with all of these experts in different modalities and bringing it all together so that you get the pieces that you're missing and the accountability and the support. Like in the masterminds we're in, this is where Katy and I learned to build like products. Like I have 360 Leaders Club, you have your VP Ready program and your community, but like that is not visible in corporates. And I think one thing you said is so important, and I feel the very same as you, is you're putting your career in their hands. So if you're not willing to invest in yourself, first of all, it isn't their responsibility. If you have a problem, it's okay to invest in yourself. But I think the part of that I think a lot of women struggle with, that in my experience is is guilt. So it's like whether it's a course or whether it's working with a coach like us, or whether it's, you know, splurging on something for themselves, as all of this guilt comes up. But yet they're the ones earning the money. They have put in the graft. They have got so what do you think, where do you think the guilt comes from?
This is so real. And I don't know, like I was thinking about this the other day because there was something I wanted. I don't know if it was like a shirt or a whatever, but I had been like looking at this thing online for like months and months. I hadn't bought it. And I can't remember how much it was. Let's say it was like $300. And I was like, oh, I don't know, it's $300. I don't know if I should spend it. And then I remember my kid came up and needed whatever. And I just like dropped $500.
I know, not even batting an eyelid. Yeah.
And I realized I do this all the time. I'm like, dare I go on this retreat? And then I signed my kid up for summer camp. It's like $3,000 for 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay. I love providing for my children. I love giving them opportunities. And also I should be doing these things for myself. I'm the one working hard to get this money. And I think as women, we do this all the time. We invest in everyone before ourselves. I love asking women, when women, you know, it's interesting when women are thinking about working with me, they're often like, oh, I don't know what the price, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you're going to make 10x more than this when you step into that next role, probably more. But what I love to say is like, if this was for your partner or your kids, would you do it? Usually the answer is absolutely. People are spending multipliers more than that on sending their kid to like a school or a camp or their hockey or their extracurricular or whatever the thing is.
Yeah. And then it's like that family vacation that you go on burnt out for 2 weeks to like just go and do it all over again, rather than actually having the tools so you could actually enjoy 50 weeks of the year instead of just 2 weeks of the year, right?
Yes, exactly. And like, I really do believe like there's things that you can invest in that are going to compound over time. Obviously, you can invest your money in actual like investments, right? Like in funds and things like that. That will compound over time. But one of the big things that we don't think about that will compound over time is investing in your knowledge and skills. That will compound over time. You will make more money than for the next like 15 years of your career or whatever, like however much you have left. That is a real investment that you can make that is going to pay off multipliers.
Yeah.
And we don't think like that, right? And so I'm like, the sooner you do this, the longer you're going to get the payout for. But yeah, I think it really is ingrained in us as women. And I think the first step is even just recognizing that, because I think oftentimes we don't even think about it. But when you stop to think about it and you're like, oh shoot, yeah, like I spend all this money on my kids, all this money on everybody else, I put everything else first, and I am always last. And I think sometimes as women, we almost like wear that as a badge of honor. This is not a badge of honor.
Yeah.
If you are burnt out and miserable and like unhappy, and you're like, that is not good for your family either. So,
and the thing is as well, I think that I've seen, and I'm sure you see it as well, and I know this to be true for me too, that the better you are, the better everyone is around you. So when you invest in yourself and you're not as moody and you're more, if you're able to be your authentic self and you're able to lead with confidence, you're able to show up as you and actually feel worthy and feel good enough. And you show up like that in work, and then you're better in work. Your team sees it. Your employer sees it. You go home. You're in a better mood. Your kids are not saying, "Mommy, why are you sad?" Or "Are you still working tonight? You can't come to this thing." It has this massive ripple effect. So like anyone who, I often say that to women as well, which is sometimes, yeah, you and I know, like I'm just thinking of a lady who got promoted recently that worked. Now I don't help women with promotions. That's your thing. It doesn't light me up in the same way it does for you. Because for me, I just want women to actually feel freaking good in who they are and do whatever the hell that they want to do with that. But she texted me and she was like, "Lucy, I've just got a 31% pay increase and like a huge in one jump." And she got a huge like equity and stuff like that as well. And she was like, I didn't do this for the money though. So I don't know about your clients, but my clients are not driven by money. It's more about impact and stuff like that as well. So I think it's really important that, first of all, if anyone's listening and you're listening about the financials, I can guarantee you, like Katy said, as Warren Buffett says, the more you learn, the more you earn. It's facts, it's proven. But what would you say to somebody, like, because sometimes the return for me is it's to sleep at night properly, like to not be second guessing yourself. Like to me, that's like far more valuable than any dollar or euro figure in a bank account.
Oh no, I think the money is great because then it can fund the life you want. But I always say, even when people are thinking about taking a new opportunity, I'm like, don't do it based on the money and the title. Do it based on like, the culture and the impact you're going to have and how aligned you are with your manager, like all of these things, right? Like, are you going to be able to grow and develop? So I think that stuff is oftentimes way more, take it from the woman who finally landed the dream role with the big salary and all of the things. And I was miserable and ended up in corporate, right? And I was actually working for a lovely team. I had a great boss. Our CEO was awesome. Like the leadership team was great. But like, those are not the things necessarily that are going to make you happy, right? So, I do want to kind of double down just for a quick second on the idea of it is investing money, but it's also investing time.
Yeah.
And this was one for a long time I did not give myself permission to do. Whether it was doing my morning routine and working out in the morning or going on trips or doing whatever. Like I was the one where, girls would be going on a trip and I'd be like, I should stay with the kids, whatever. And the more I've invested in that stuff, the more I've given myself permission. So much so that I remember when I was looking at, we're in the mastermind, we go on multiple trips a year, right? We meet up. And I remember talking to Taylor about it when we were going through the expenses for the business and that type of thing. And I was like, oh, this stuff cannot move in terms of expenses. I was like, this is so important to me. Like if we have to like reduce my salary to make up for it, then we can. But like,
or you're going to get psycho Katy, the wife.
Yeah,
you will get psycho Katy.
Yeah, but it's true. It's like,
it is so true.
The things, they fill my cup. They help me become the best version of myself. I absolutely love it. It's like, I'm not going to cut that stuff. I'll cut something else, but I'm not going to cut that. And so, yeah, it's like, those are the things that are so important to me. And I've really leaned in. Like I do a morning routine every single day. I prioritize it. Yes. Sometimes I've got a kid sitting in the gym with me, but for the most part, I get to do it. And I do trips by myself every, and meet up with you ladies or, do something else. But like, I invest in that stuff. And I have to say, like, it just allows me to be a better business owner, a better leader, a better parent, a better partner, all of the things.
Yeah, because if you're happy, everyone's happier around you as well,
Yeah.
isn't it? Like, and I'm curious then, like, I want to talk a little bit about mindset as well, kind of going back to self-talk. So, and I've told you before, and I know we have similarities in that sense that, like, I never felt good enough. I never felt worthy. And I had tried CBT, I had tried obviously podcasts and therapy, and they did help to a certain degree. But obviously when I found coaching, we've spoken about this before, and learned all the psychology tools and like all of those things, it was amazing. But what has kind of helped me a lot, like in recent years, is positive self-talk. So I want to hear a little bit more about the role of like affirmations and mindset and positive self-talk from you, because I'm a little bit woo, and sometimes, you're a little bit woo as well. But sometimes when people hear like, like I actually jotted down some of my favorite ones that I just wrote them down so I'd have them. But I would say things to myself like, I am enough exactly as I am today. I am prepared, capable, and qualified. I am worthy of having it all. I deserve to invest in myself. I am good enough, and I have always been good enough. And I've recorded my voice saying those affirmations, and I play my own voice to myself sometimes because I want it to be my voice, not somebody else's. And I find that has just helped me so much. I've actually turned it into a course for, I'll actually link it in the show notes. It's a 4-week affirmation course of the things that I said to myself to make sure that I continue to feel worthy. Because honestly, if you have really deep ingrained beliefs about yourself that you've had for childhood, like I've done like you so much work on myself, but if I don't do the work and I don't feed my brain positive stuff,
Yep.
I go back into old patterns. So I'm curious, like for you, where affirmations come in, mindset work, all of that.
Mm-hmm. I'm a fan of affirmations every single day. So I do a couple of things. So one, in the morning, I typically meditate. I sometimes use an app that I know you sometimes use too, which is more manifesty, positive thought, breath work type stuff. I also like doing affirmations before bed at night, and like I will write them out and then I'll say them to myself a couple of times. And even like in the middle of the day, because I agree with you. It's like one of those things that you can have like a really good basis and you can be feeling really good. But if you stop doing it, you can kind of revert. You can start to like feel more negative. So I do think it's something that's really important as like a daily practice. And hey, I was not woo. When I was moving in from like corporate space into coaching, I was like, who are these people?
I know.
But, I was like, what? And I actually remember looking into the science of affirmations. So I was like, is this legit? Because I'm just picturing like Tony Robbins or Oprah like yelling these things. And I'm like, I don't know if this is for me. The science behind affirmations is really strong. Because if you think about what it does, it starts to rewire your subconscious thought patterns, right? And so what happens, right? Our thoughts come from the belief system that we have created for ourselves. We can actually shift our belief system through affirmations, through positive self-talk, through all of this stuff. And so then when an event happens and you have a thought, which is oftentimes subconscious, at least initially, that is determined by your belief system. And so affirmations are so powerful, whether you are trying to shift how you show up in the world or how you feel about yourself. You can use affirmations to do that because it shifts your subconscious. And then, it's like thoughts, feelings, actions, outcomes. So as you shift those subconscious thoughts, you are going to shift your thoughts, feelings, actions, outcomes. And so that's the power in it. It is actually like legit, and the science backs it up. So that was convincing enough for me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give this thing a shot. And I've pretty much never gone back from it. It is one of those things. I try to do it every single day. There's the odd day that I'm really exhausted and I go to bed and I don't do my affirmations. But usually if I go a few days and I don't do it, I'm like, no, I need to bring this back. And to your point, there's lots of ways you can do it. You can have an alarm in your phone. You can write them out. You can, morning, night, whatever works for you. But I find that if I'm starting to feel negative or, I'm struggling or whatever, I will essentially tell myself what I need to hear.
Yeah.
And that's going to be different for different people, right? Like, so it might be like, I'm feeling healthy and good in my body, or I am like a confident leader. I speak my truth. Like, what is the thing that you really want to work on in terms of how you're feeling or showing up in the world? And then you create your affirmations around that. And it is really powerful. I notice a concrete difference when I do that.
Isn't it interesting though how we look outside of ourselves so much when actually it's all internal, right?
Yeah.
Like all of that stuff. Because like, you can listen to affirmations from other people and, all of that, but ultimately, what you need to tell yourself. Like I have a tool that I use with my clients. I'll tell you what it is now. Anyway, it's called Rants to Power, where you look at your rants, which are your repetitive, automatic, negative thoughts. And then like you basically reframe them, you flip them into power statements, which is positive, optimistic words energetically repeated. And when I do that exercise with my clients and I see what their power statements are, they're so much more specific than the generic affirmations that you get, because you have to feel an emotional connection and it has to do something to your brain. If you don't feel an emotion when you're saying those things to yourself, it doesn't work as well. So like if you're like, I am worthy, like if you're saying it like that, it's not going to work. You have to really believe it and be like, I am worthy, and it takes kind of work to get to that. So I'm wondering, Katy, just as we're going to wrap up shortly, but I do want to ask you, maybe you've already answered this, but if there's anyone listening today who struggles with confidence, perhaps it's public speaking or just believing that they're good enough to progress to the next level, whatever it is, what is one shift or practice that you would recommend that they begin with?
I mean, one thing I love actually is the practice of unpacking your limiting beliefs. And you can pair that with affirmations, because usually I would say affirmations and gratitude are probably my two favorite, I would say, habits for shifting your mindset. And specifically for things like limiting beliefs and confidence and that type of thing, I think affirmations are maybe my favorite. But to get more specific, if you are struggling with limiting belief, an exercise I love is to, like, let's say, think of a limiting belief that you have, write it out. I do this with my clients all the time. Think about, where did this belief come from? Because limiting beliefs, by definition, will have come from some event or events in your life that it became a limiting belief either because of the frequency or the intensity. Okay. So try to unpack where that came from, why it became a limiting belief. Oh, you were so mortified when your teacher said this to you, or whatever. Your parents used to always do this, or whatever. Then start to challenge that limiting belief, which is, would this hold up in a court of law? What would somebody arguing against it say? Is there anyone in the entire world who would not agree with this? Whatever it is, I'm dumb because I didn't go to college, or I'm whatever, right? Whatever the limiting belief is, ask yourself, who would disagree with this and what would they say? And then this is where you turn it into an affirmation. So then you reframe that. So let's say, for example, one of my big limiting beliefs, and I'm going to say a really vulnerable one, was I am annoying. That was a limiting belief I had because my brothers told me I was annoying all the time. And then a kid at school in grade 7 told me I was annoying, and it like hit me right to my core. I also had a crush on this kid. So, that didn't help.
Intensity moment then.
Exactly. But it's okay, because he tried to date me later and I said no. So I just want the world to know that. Sorry, Ryan, you missed your chance.
Yeah, anyway. Ryan, you missed out.
Look at me now. Just kidding. So that was my limiting belief. And I didn't even realize it for a long time, but it was under the surface, and when I finally realized, I was like, oh wait, I do have this limiting belief. And it causes me to play small in a lot of instances and not speak up and not be fully myself because I think I'm too much. I flipped that to, the right people love my energy. Because it's true. The right people actually love my energy. They want to work with me. They want to be my friend. They want to hang out with me. Maybe some people still think I'm annoying. Like some people, I might not be their energy. That's okay. I've got a lot of energy. I am not for everyone, but I am for certain people. And so I shifted it to this statement that I do believe is true. I don't always say just take your limiting belief and make it the opposite, because if that doesn't feel true to you, to your point, if you're saying it, but it doesn't feel true to you, it's not going to work. But I do believe that the right people love my energy because they tell me all the time. Yeah. So that became my reframe. And then that became an affirmation that I used. And so when you take that reframe and then start using it as an affirmation, it can be really powerful in terms of overcoming some of these limiting beliefs that are holding you back from doing the thing, speaking in front of people, taking the leap or whatever. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Katy McFee, thank you so, so much for coming on the show today. Again, I'm so excited that you're back. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that conversation from Katy, and I will link to her website in the show notes. Katy is #1 in the world at helping women who want to become VPs. So if you are looking for a promotion, I can highly recommend Katy. She's an unbelievable energy. She is absolutely fantastic, and she's one of my best friends, and I love you so much, and I can't wait to see you again soon.
I love you so much. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. So guys, one thing I want you to just really take away from today's episode is this, is that confidence will grow when you take action. It is okay to invest in yourself. It is okay to go back and do the work on and for yourself, because if you're better, everyone around you is better. And next week, we're going to be talking about 5 signs that self-doubt might quietly be sabotaging your leadership career. So come back again next week, same time, same place. Bye for now.